start over again, and I'll ask you each to say your name and how you came to Palmyra. In your case, you were born here, but you can talk again about why you came to Palmyra and so forth, and then we'll just go on from there. We'll talk about a number of things. So, Fran, maybe you want to start. State your name loud and clear so that we can get it on tape.
I'm Mrs Kreiser, and I've lived in Palmyra all my life. So I've enjoyed the community very much. I had a mother that was very active in the community, and my husband and I have been very active also in the community.
Let's say who your mother was.
My mother was Sarah A. Sievers.
And she was a scout leader.
She was a scout leader, a registered nurse. She took care of Milton Hershey. She worked part-time at the Hershey factory, also the Hershey Park, and the Hershey Hospital.
Well, the reason I wanted you to state that is earlier today we talked with Charlie Reed, who wrote a book about the women who developed Palmyra, the women who were influential in the development of Palmyra. And your mother, I'm sure, was one of them. He didn't mention specific names, but when I think of that concept of the women who had a strong influence on Palmyra, I think of your mother, because she was my scout leader, and she was very active and influential in the lives of many people.
Yes.
And you are her husband, and you are?
I am Roy Kreiser, Fran's husband, yes, for 55 years in February, and not less than a month, yes, thank you. That's why I have no hair, no set.
Okay. But you have other facial hair, so it makes up for it.
Right. I just wanted to say one thing here, quick, jumping around with Dick. You were talking to Dick there about the nursing home back here. I was fire chief when that was built.
Okay.
And we made many a trip out there getting the alarm system down pat, And there was a little old lady in one room. I don't remember her name. But the alarm went off one night around midnight. So we had to run out there to the nursing home. And I figured it was somewhere around her room. So I sent everybody else around and checking the area. And I went to her room. And sure enough, it was her alarm, Well, she was out in the hallway. They had to get out of the room. But I went in and looked, and sure enough, it was her room, her alarm. When it came out, she said to me, "Was it my alarm?" And I said, "Yes, it was." Well, she swore, son of a gun, And she came out and she said, just like that, son, but not that word. But, she says, "I swear a lot," she says, "but I pray a lot also."
Had she pulled it accidentally?
No, just went off of either a bug or a piece of dirt, something went in there, and set it off. But she was quite a gal, yeah.
Well, they've done they've given a home to people of Palmyra through the years. And other people live there from other areas, but I know, as I said to him, it seems to me the people that were the adults as I was growing up, have now moved to the Brethren home, and it has, created a new community out there for those individuals, and I think they really enjoy it. Yeah. It's interesting though, with the fire, having worked in a retirement community, with the fire department, you were integrally related, and any time that alarm does go off, that creates extra problems for the fire company, because most times they are accidental and it's not a fire, thankfully, but you need to respond.
Yeah,
was there any animosity when they decided to build that the fire company went, "Oh no, now we're going to have this"? Oh, that's great.
No, in fact, I don't know that we went one way or the other,
It was just part of the job.
Part of the job, exactly. Yeah.
Well, while we're on the fire company, tell us about your experiences with the Palmyra Fire Company.
I joined the company in 1952. Lloyd Martin was fire chief. No, I take that back. Dutch Geiger was fire chief then. And had to join as a rookie, couldn't do anything. We carried ladders and loaded hose and things like that. And then as you got older, were in a little more, then you got promoted. Then you got to be a lineman. You got up close to a fire. Then the next thing you know, you got to be a nozzleman. And that was where the fun was. It was fun for us and not for the people that were involved, but it was fun, and I really enjoyed it. And then 1967, I believe, I became chief for 3 years, and I thought 3 years would be enough for anybody, you know. But, I got out, and we had a couple of the fellows went over, and then got back in around 1974, somewhere around there, 75 maybe. But I was in it for 7 years as chief. Then I retired, and that was it. I didn't go around much, and now I don't know anybody there. But and I must say, we had one of the better fire companies, one of the best fire companies in the area.
Well, I think that's the impression, that Palmyra is very proud of their fire company.
Absolutely.
All volunteer.
Yeah.
And the fundraising that had to go on through the years,
Mm-hmm.
so that they could get the trucks and the ambulances and so forth that they did through the years.
That's right.
It's just wonderful.
And now, in those days, you know, companies that you worked for, your job, your earning, your work, the employer would let you have off when there was a fire. And I worked at Southend at the bologna factory, and there was like 5 or 6 of us. When the alarm went, we were going out the door, you know. They never docked us a cent. Jack Seltzer was president of the bologna company, right? And he just said to me one day, he says, just have them get back as soon as we can. We're not going to, you know.
So the town was supportive.
Yes, very much.
Businesses too. That's great.
Yeah, people even got away from Hershey factory during the fair. Now, probably Hershey, and I shouldn't say this, but I would imagine they just let people that belong to Hershey company go, and I don't really know
Yeah,
that.
I don't know either.
I would think.
What, you all carry beepers, so that's how you know.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Were there significant fires during the time that you were involved?
Yeah, over here, the big one I could think of is the bowling alley.
That where the livery stable had been? That
Yeah,
one? Okay, the apartments that were.
Right. That burned down to the ground and had metal roof on it. Couldn't get out, you know. That started a grease fire in the kitchen, the restaurant in the front. The Greystone Manor, yes, that was their, I don't remember his name, but Schneider died in there.
That's what we heard. Earlier,
Yeah.
someone was talking about that. She had actually been a resident there
Mm-hmm.
before the fire took place.
Yeah. I remember they would crawl down into a corner between 2 dressers in his room
Oh,
and tried to get away from it, but couldn't make it.
didn't know how big it was going to be.
Yeah, it was all smoke. We just got a call to investigate the building, you know. And it was a Saturday night, we were running bingo. So our trucks were up at the quarry, up at the west end of town. So somebody, the drivers all went up there to get the trucks and we went over to investigate. It was a worker. It had gas fired and it was gone, yeah. And it was cold. It was
Mhm,
cold.
I
We're
heard.
talking weather like this. It was cold.
So those of you were involved in some of the most significant fires in
Mhm,
town.
yeah, we had quite a few. I was assistant chief. My sister lived down in Beanoms. And she had 4 children, 5 children. And they lived in one of those houses out there.
Mhm.
And I had gone out one time and helped her husband put new ceiling in the house. When I came home, I told Fran, I said, if they get a fire there, I said, they're not going to get out.
Mm.
It wasn't long after that they had a fire there, and my sister didn't want to cut out. Frank, her husband, told her to jump out the window and go around the back, they'll throw the kids out to her. Well, that didn't work. You know. As soon as they left there, it just blew up.
Oh, my goodness. that's sad.
Totally wrong. My dad was the chief engineer of the company. He was
So
driving.
you were all right there?
Yeah, we were there. Yes. That was bad, yeah.
Yes. No,
It
that's,
was bad.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Mhm.
You mentioned seltzers. Do you want to tell us a little bit about seltzers? How long you
Okay.
worked there? And I mean, that was a prominent business
Mhm,
in
yeah.
Elmira. It still is.
Still is, yeah. They're going good. I started here in 1953. And I started at the top. One of the few places you can start at the top. Like the smokehouse, thank goodness. And then over the years, I worked my way inside, you know, into the warm, loading trucks, and got to be assistant plant manager. And then, I don't know when I was, I retired in 1996. For 2 years I was production manager before I retired. And 5 years prior to that I was the plant manager. So I think I worked my way out. We started
well.
out, worked down, worked
Worked
back
out,
up
worked back
again,
again.
yeah. And it was very good. They were very good to their employees. They really were. And families, yeah. They took us on a trip one time to Florida. Jack leased 2 jet planes and loaded us all up, the employees, the families, children, the whole works, you know,
Oh, my
Took us
goodness.
down
Wasn't
there.
that generous?
to Disney World for the day.
So everybody went down for one day and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
came back.
Flew down.
We gave each $10
Yeah,
plus admission to the
really neat.
That is. I've
Yeah.
never heard that story. Thanks for
Oh,
sharing that.
yeah.
It was wonderful. You don't hear it.
When was that?
Oh,
Like in the
my.
60s, 70s?
Kids were born in 59, 61, and 62. So it would have had to have been in the late 60s, I'm going to say. Yeah.
How wonderful.
That
Oh, that is neat.
Yeah.
Well, how many people was that? Hundreds? With all the families in it.
Oh, yeah. I would think maybe a little more than 100. Yeah. Now I would think that they might have 60 employees. So at that time we had maybe a little more.
Huh.
And the kids and everything, you know.
Oh, the machinery has changed too, in the
Oh,
sectors, so that decreased
The number of people that they would need,
Yeah.
you know.
elevation.
But that was neat. Yeah.
That's a great story. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know, I've been on the road, I've been on traveling and seeing the Seltzer's Bologna truck, because you can, because they have the big
Yeah.
Seltzer Bologna on the side.
Right.
Many different places in this country, you know what I mean? How
Yeah.
far west do they go? Do they go past the Mississippi or?
No, not driving, no. Anything like that we would ship. But we do ship bologna to, I say we, I'm not there anymore, obviously, but to California. And naturally that's a father, but then we send it overseas all the time, yeah. And that they had government standards in for that, you know, you had to pass. Couldn't do this, couldn't do that, but a lot of bologna was sent overseas. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And Ohio, the states around here, you know, are all big bologna states. And Seltzer is probably the biggest, I would think.
And what is the proper title today?
It's,
Yeah, Palmyra
Our
Bologna.
Bologna Company Incorporated.
yeah, and we always call it Seltzers.
Right,
Yeah.
so did I, as you know, as growing
The
up.
brand name, yeah.
Well, they have been very generous to the 250th anniversary
Oh,
of
good.
Bent to Go and Take.
Good.
They have been wonderful.
Good.
They filled our refrigerator here with bologna constantly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, they've given for prizes and
Okay.
different supporting events and so
Yeah.
forth. So they're still very generous and continue to be. And the people that I met that work there today seem very positive about the company as well. So it's a nice thing for Palmyra that that's happened through the years. Well, Fran, tell us about your child rearing and your work experiences in Palmyra, and then I want you to tell us a little bit about what happened in 1960 and how you were involved in that anniversary.
Oh, okay.
Well, I went to school here at Palmyra all my life, graduated from Palmyra, and that's, of course, my husband went a few years to Palmyra, then went to Hershey for a few years, came back, and then we graduated, and I went off to nursing school, and I graduated from Polyclinic in Harrisburg, which is no longer there, and that's sad, but anyway, it was a wonderful training school at that time. It was a 3-year course that we took. But anyway, this guy decided in 1956 to ask me to marry him. And this coming February the 11th, we'll be married 55 years. We have 3 children, 9 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren.
You're too young.
My birthday is February 10th.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, don't forget
One
Roy's
day we're
birthday.
married.
Oh, so, well then after nursing school, I worked at Polyclinic for 4 years, and then I was married, and was before those 4 years, 56 we were married. I graduated in 55, so 56 we were married, and then I worked 4 years, and then we started having a family, and so I had 3 children, and they came pretty close, so I didn't do any nursing at that time, other than I did part-time school nursing in Palmyra and Annville School District. And at that time, the nurses didn't take off a lot. They were very dedicated. Back then, I just think we had such dedicated people. I don't see that as much today, but I'm sure there still are dedicated people, but that's what makes things go. But I think years ago, even as you can see it in your neighborhood, neighbors aren't as friendly as they were years ago. But you know, it's only what you make your neighborhood. If you step out and introduce yourself and just talk to them when you see them, it just makes it a friendlier neighborhood. So then, in between, while I was at home with my 3 children, I did do some Girl Scouting. I had a Brownie troop for 5 years, and then I went on just to help as a troop on the troop committee when my girls advanced, 2 daughters advanced on to the higher level of scouting. But my mother, she was in Girl Scouting for 25 years as a leader.
And I was one of her little
Oh, you
brownies.
were-
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
yes.
Yeah, babe, that's wonderful. Yes, my mother did many wonderful things. And let's see. Well, then I also was in Junior Women's Club for many years until, well, I moved over to Senior Club, but then Junior Club did disband, and then later on, the Senior Club even disbanded.
So tell us a little bit about that, because the fact that we no longer have a women's club at Palmyra, you know, shows sort of like the
Well, I think what happened,
transition.
we had a very active Junior Women's Club, and at that time, mothers weren't working like they do today, and that made a big difference. Because mothers now, they come home from work, they have other things they must do, they can't be out doing social clubs, and so.
What were some of the things that the club did for Palmyra? Weren't they active in the beginning of the library?
Yes,
Can you
yes.
talk about that a
Started the library, and I worked there. That's one nice thing. My husband was always so busy with the Farrer Company and his work. I always had one night a week that I could do what I wanted to do. And so the library, I went over there to help at the library once a month. And then I belonged to Junior Women's Club, and that was on a Thursday night, so that was another night out. Then I also belonged to a Pinochle Club, and I'm still in that Pinochle Club today. And let's see, what else? Today, we're active in our church,
Okay.
so we do a lot. Right now, I'm president of the 50-plus group at our church.
Good.
Roy's the secretary.
Oh, you're the secretary?
Well,
But you know, they're telling me that they can't get leadership for the senior groups. So I'm really glad that you're taking leadership, because some of the older people, say who are 20 years older than you are, have done that, you know, and they want to have some relaxation now. But they do want to have the groups. They do want to have the socialization. So that's great that you're taking that role.
but
In our
Okay.
church, Trinity Church, we've hit many little obstacles along the way. And so right now, we don't have a lot of youth. So now if the older people in the congregation don't step up and do these things, who's going to do it? So really, that's where we are. And we're trying to rebuild. We're still waiting at Trinity Church, Trinity United Church of Christ, for a full-time pastor. And that's in the process. Right now, we've had some interim pastors.
Oh, okay.
And so we're hoping that we find the right one and they can help our church, to grow.
Right.
But we are thinking ahead all the time. We're thinking more on the contemporary. That seems to be how you draw people into churches today. If you look at the big churches that are out there today, it's the contemporary services where people are going to.
Right, except let me say,
Okay.
having been involved with seniors for 30-some years, the seniors sort of got pushed aside in the churches, and seniors don't necessarily like contemporary. And I always
Right.
contend that there should be churches that are looking, and it sounds to me like you're headed in that direction a little bit, but churches should be catering to seniors. Should be, that there should be a senior church. There was one in Campbelltown, and the pastor has passed away now. That one little church in Campbelltown, he started a senior ministry. And in fact, he would have services on Wednesdays, I think it was. But he drew up from a big area because the seniors were hungry for some spiritual growth, and they were feeling pushed aside because, the churches were going contemporary and trying to get all the young people in, which in the long run, to have a church stay for a long period of time, yes, you're going to need some young families and so forth. But it was at the expense of the senior population. So I just
Yeah.
say that because it's a pet peeve of mine.
It's tougher for the seniors to make changes,
Mhm.
like
Yes.
this contemporary stuff, and that hurts. But hey, we go with it.
But as we're planning, I say you're thinking temporary, but in time, we will come back to 2 services. We did have 2, but our congregation did go down.
Mhm.
And so with the economy, they were thinking that way, we just can't afford 2 services. And this way, with 1 service, you've got to know everyone.
Right, well, and that was part of what happened with many of the churches. It's not
Yes.
just yours. They all went to 2 services for growth, and then in our church, I go in Lebanon, and they still say, well, we don't know that person, because we don't go to that service that they do. So maybe that was a good move to do, was going back to 1 service, so you get some sense of family or sense of congregation there too.
Uh-huh.
Well, best wishes on that.
Well, thank you.
I mean, that Palmyra is rich in church history.
Yes,
We have a
are.
lot of these churches,
Very fortunate.
and the UCC church used to be right here on the corner, of Main Street. And I remember when they moved back there and became Trinity, and now we're on the Y and so forth. So, there are a lot of changes that have taken place in the churches.
This is where we got married.
Right next door,
Right
yeah.
next door here, yeah. And then
Beautiful church.
we got married in February, and October then I was drafted of the same year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so Fran was chief
By
cook
yourself.
and bottle washer, yeah. They sent me over to Korea. I enjoyed it, I don't know if Fran did or not.
Well, I
Well, that's
got
when she was nursing.
That's when I was
No, she
working.
was, yeah,
Yeah,
right,
was
yeah,
full-time
she
nursing,
working,
yeah.
right,
Yeah,
but,
so that worked out.
yeah. It was neat.
Well, I want to tell you something that just happened recently. We have a grandson that was just recently inducted into the Palmyra High School Hall of Fame, Travis Risser.
How exciting.
And my husband was asked to present the plaque to Travis because Roy's also a member of the Sports Hall of Fame.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm
Yeah.
glad you did. Tell us a little bit about that Palmyra Sports Hall of Fame and how that got started. And I mean, it's not that old, is it?
No, not really. I was inducted in '97, and I think might have been started 3 or 4 years prior to
So
that.
just in the 90s,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And they honor, what type of qualifications do you have to do?
You have to be out of school 7 years. And then from there on, you send in a resume and they vote on them. Now this year, for instance, this year now we voted on 7 people out of 11.
Okay. And this is sports Hall of Fame?
This is sports,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
All the sports, the coaches, and then 5 are inducted. At this point, they're inducting 5 every year.
Wasn't that exciting to have a grandson?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Another
then
nice,
Stacy, I think, is going to be going in a couple of years.
his sister.
You know,
Okay.
yeah. So,
And what was he active in? What sports was he active in? Your grandson?
3, football, baseball, and basketball.
And you did the same? You were 3 sports?
Yeah, I was at 4 and track also. Yeah, it was fun.
Oh, I bet.
Really was
See,
fun.
to me,
Yeah.
the extracurricular is what helps you have a wonderful
Oh,
Yeah.
school experience.
Right.
I really do. I think
Mhm.
that's what gets the kids through. And, you know, unfortunately, people don't understand that, and school districts sometimes, you know, are not funding those programs, whether it's music programs or theater or whatever. So that's neat.
Now it's harder with money, you know.
Yeah.
Schools can't afford all this stuff now.
Well, now, does the Palmar Sports Hall of Fame do anything back for the school? I mean, do you serve as mentors or anything like that?
No.
That'd be neat, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Be a neat thing to do, to
On the walls,
encourage
they
it.
have everything, people that scored 1,000 points in basketball, for instance, in their career, they would have their names up on the wall.
Right,
And all those
That's
that
neat.
entered the Hall of Fame is on the hall.
Yeah.
in that hallway. I'll have to go back and see that.
Not the hallway, in the gym.
Oh, it's actually in the
Yeah,
gym?
in the gym.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Mhm.
Well, my little ones will be up in not yet, but in about 6 years, they'll be up in the high school, so
There you go.
I'll get in the gym more then.
And we're very fortunate, Travis also scored over 1,000 points in basketball.
Mhm.
Oh, really?
And so they have a board just for the ones that reach that plateau.
I bet that was fun for you going to all those games.
Oh,
Oh,
wonderful.
yeah, yeah.
I know what that's
Yeah.
like.
And Travis is still playing baseball, independent ball, out in Avon Lake, Ohio,
Okay.
for the Lake Erie Crushers,
That's,
as a starting pitcher.
So that's his profession at this point.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Great.
Mhm.
16 miles west of Cleveland
Yeah.
is where his team is.
That's a nice area. My son lived in Cleveland for a while.
Oh,
I like that area.
okay.
Very nice. Well, I want to thank you for coming. Anything else you want to share? So these stories keep coming out here. That's great.
I'm sure as we walk out the door. we'll
You'll think of more.
Yes,
That's
I
great.
know.
Well, you should do like Charlie Reed did. He started writing them down. So
Oh,
I
okay.
encourage you to do that in your retirement. Write some of these stories of Palmyra. Who knows, maybe in a couple of years we'll have an essay contest or something instead of doing our DVD.
Yeah.
All I can say, Palmyra's been a wonderful place to live. We've enjoyed it. We've been active too.
Right. Well, it's just like you said about the neighborhoods, you know.
Yes.
If you're going to be, if you want good neighbors, then you have to be a good neighbor.
That's
So if you want to have a wonderful community, you need to be active.
Right.
Junior Women's Club, fire company, whatever. You need to be active and share that. And that's how you get to know people, and that's how you get to help the community grow.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank
Carol.
you.
You're
And thanks for
welcome.
coming back.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry
Oh,
that
my gosh.
this
Yeah,
worked
no
out.
problem.
great.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.